let's see. Got that shared. Okay, Miss Becky, do you have a question?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to remind everyone at Fleming Island, our outside class is at 6 on Monday, and it's going to be at the field behind where we were training by the gazebo and the grassy area right there. So I do have a few that have said they are coming, but if you're in Fleming, we are going to do that class on Monday night.
Will you text me the time and the location of that so I can put it in a central schedule? Because I'm going to try to make a schedule with our live, virtual, all those classes, make sure we've got that.
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Thank you. Okay, we also have CIT. We're doing a CIT class. We'll do that on Zoom on this normal code tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Hopefully I just said that information right. When Master Lappin's on here, I'll have her correct me if that's wrong. But CIT meeting tomorrow at 5:30. We are going to work on implementing our CIT with the virtual classes. I have a friend with a studio, and he's been he's had CIT members on the classes helping give feedback and things like that. So we'll get back to doing that from that meeting. What else? Game night tomorrow night at 6:30. We have a virtual game night. So hop on Zoom with Miss Katie and Miss Jenny, and they're going to play some fun games with you guys. You don't need to be in uniform or anything like that for that. But we will see you then. Next week, we have, who knows what's next week? Bum, bum, bum. What is next? What do we have going on? Who knows? Who is raising their hand? Is that Ezekiel? What is it, Ezekiel?
Buddy Day.
Buddy Day. Yes. So all week next week is Buddy Day. So I want to see each of you guys invite one friend to class with you. Okay. Who has at least one person that they know? Everybody does. So who is going to invite that one person to come on to class? Good job. Good. And we'll have some kind of prize or something. I haven't talked to Master Lappin about what we're going to do, but for everyone who brings buddies, we'll do something fun for you guys. Okay. Any questions before we do stars? Go ahead and get your character building sheets ready. Olivia, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. If we like do the black belt workout, can we like still do it like virtually?
We will not have, we're going to get back into, so we're in the process of starting to reopen. So the black belt workout is something that's going to start being required again. So I don't know if there will be a virtual option. I'll talk to Master Lappin and see, but I do know that like for the people who are testing this time, they have to be live in class unless there's some crazy medical reason, but it's going to be completely socially distant. And so you're not going to be in a situation where you're even indoors, close to anybody who's you know, any other germs. So I will ask about that, but as of right now, we don't have a setup outside. So I don't know if that will be available virtually. I think we can probably get something together to make it available virtually, but for the guys that are testing that it's required, it's going to be required to be in there. So there won't be, for those testing for black belt, especially in July, they need to be at those classes if they still want to test. Okay. Any other questions? Good question though, Olivia. Anything else? Who already picked up their 7 Habits book? Who is going to pick it up today? Good. Okay, let's go ahead and do stars. So who has character building sheets? Let's do those really fast. Miss Aaliyah. How many do you have, Aaliyah?
I have 2 and Destiny has 1.
Good. And which ones are they?
Okay, mine are the self-discipline sheet and the building a character number 5, and Destiny's is the karate homework.
Good job. Everybody clap for them. Very nice. Very nice. Good. Okay. Who else? Miss Kathy. How many do you have?
I have 18.
Wow. And which ones are they?
1 through 5. And then number 7, which is 7 stars. Character building number 1 companion sheet, which is 2. And then I have karate homework, book club sheet, healthy eating, and self-discipline.
Good, you're working on everything. Clap for her.
Good trying.
Job, good job. All right, I love it. Who else has some, Darius?
I have 1 star, the book club sheet.
Very good. Good job, Darius. Let's clap for him. Who else? Miss Becky?
I have karate homework. I have self-discipline. I have book club and eating healthy. Total of 4.
Very nice. Let's clap for Miss Becky. Good job. Good job. Who else has some? Miss Hannah. And I think that's it. So if I missed you, make sure you wave your hand in front of the thing. Hannah, how many do you have?
I have 15. I have the karate homework. I have and I have 2 of the week one, the chore thingy.
Okay, so those are for the past 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, good job. Let's clap for Hannah. Very good. Okay, I think that is everything. Very nice, you guys. I love that you guys are keeping up with these. That's awesome. I love it, love it. All right, so I am going to do something a little different today. I have a little PowerPoint that we're gonna use to start the 7 habits. So this is what the book looks like. There are a million different editions of this book. So your guys' I think is red. It looks a little bit different. It's the same thing. They just revised a couple little different things, but the main content is still the exact same. So if you have a different colored book, don't worry about it. A different edition, doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you guys and we will see how this goes. Okay. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Okay. All right. So we are starting the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is a book by Stephen Covey. It is about, powerful lessons in personal change. And that's really what this book is about. So we're going to do a review of it, just like we did with What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. We're going to go through it. This has less chapters. When What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, it had very short chapters. So we did 1 chapter per day. So we're probably going to split this up a little bit and do 1 chapter over the course of a couple days. But for today, we are starting with just an introduction to the book. So we'll go through this. Okay, so about this book, it was published over 25 years ago. So it is an old book. It, like I said, has a lot of different revisions and things like that have been done to it, a million different copies. And even I read some of those, there are a lot of different offshoots. The ones, 7 habits for teens, 7 habits for families, workbooks, journals, things like that. So if you guys love this book, I love this book. I think that any of our black belts, all of our black belts like this book. We've gone through it a bunch of times. They have to know it for their black belt test, all that kind of stuff. They're familiar with it. And it's good. So there are a lot of different offshoots. So if you're interested in exploring it a little bit further, you can look into some of the workbooks or stuff like that too. Okay. One of the questions that he's asked, and it says this in the beginning, guys, don't draw on the screen. Come on. Thank you. All right. Is it still relevant today? He answers that in there. He says, the greater the change and more difficult our challenges are, the more relevant the habits become. So 25 years ago, they didn't have the struggle of a pandemic and working on this, working on school virtually, working on karate virtually, things like that. But as you go through those different changes, those different challenges, all of these habits become more relevant. So no matter how much time passes, these are all incredibly important habits to have in any area of life and any challenges you overcome. I know Mr. Jarrett, when he talked to us, talked about how he's teaching this as a manager at Fidelity. He's teaching this to all of his sales people. And I think it was Miss Leah talked about that at her college. They were studying this, and that she's carried a lot of different people. Miss Casey talked about how one of the habits in particular, I think it was beginning with the end in mind, was something that she's carried through with her everywhere she goes. So I know that you guys are listening to this and going over it, but I also know that this won't be the only time we ever talk about this book. You guys are going to hear us talk about this a couple times by the time you get to black belt, and you're going to read it on your own, and you're going to have a strong understanding of this. to a point where these habits aren't just something you heard, they're something that you know and you live by and you can share with other people. Okay. So the first 16 pages, I counted it. It's 16 pages of testimonies in this book. And that might be something that's only in this edition, but it was pretty cool just to see who some of these testimonies are written by. So the second one on here is Tony Robbins. Who's heard of Tony Robbins? He's a really successful guy. He put a good testimony in here. There's Olympic medalist Michael Phelps, for anyone who's heard of Michael Phelps. There are CEOs, COOs of so many different companies, of HP. Who's heard of HP, the printers, and that company? The CEO of HP put a testimony in here. A lot of different authors, owner of Fortune 500 companies, president of Mary Kay. Who's heard of Mary Kay? There are even principals and teachers and superintendents and things like that put testimonies in here. It's really cool. Here's one from a CEO of Bank of Communication in Singapore, one from someone in the Netherlands. So it's really cool to see Indonesia, to see how all over the world, people are studying this book and using these in major companies and in small companies. This is actually, I took a leadership class in high school and we learned this book. I took another leadership class in college and we talked about this book. It's taught in so many areas, and I just want to kind of get that point across, because everybody can use these habits. Whether you're 5 years old and you're in kindergarten, you're taking karate and you have piano lessons and that's your life, you can use these 7 habits in all of those areas. If you are a parent, this is something you can use in your parenting. If you are managing, you can use this with your team. If you are a student, whatever you're doing, whatever area of life, wherever you are, these 7 habits are relevant. Okay, it was published in 52 different languages, which I think is crazy, but it just kind of goes to show how successful the book has been and how important so many different people have found it. So they've translated it to different books so they can share it across the world. Okay, he emphasizes building character rather than attaining success. And that is one thing that makes this book a little bit different from a lot of self-betterment books. Even the book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, it was all focused on how to be successful, which is what most books are that are self-help books. They're how to be successful. Now there are many different, definitions of success. And we talked about that a little bit then, but this is more focusing on changing your character rather than being successful. Of course, the end goal is attaining success in your life in whatever area that is. But the first step to that is building that character, which is a lot of what we teach and talk about in martial arts, right? We have our 7 tenets, our 5 codes. We teach respect and confidence and leadership. We teach all of these little things that help you become this leader, this black belt, this person. So that's what kind of an idea of how this book is formatted. Like I said, it's taught all over the world, different schools, different Fortune 500 companies, and in all different walks of life, which I think is really interesting. And the last thing here, it is required for black belt. So I asked Miss Heather to get out the sheet for this today. So if you haven't picked up your book yet, she's gonna, when you pick it up, ask her for the worksheet that goes along with it. There is a worksheet that you have to do by black belt. Now, as we go through this, we're gonna have our own homework sheets that you guys should do. And if you picked up a book and you are committing to following along with this, you're committing to doing those homework sheets. So I expect you to do those. You will earn stars and things like that. But that's how you guys are really going to retain the information. So there are some homework sheets that we'll do as we go through this, but there is one that is required for black belt, just like there's one for what to say when you talk to yourself. And now some of you guys, you're not at black belt right now. You can do that worksheet for what to say when you talk to yourself or for this book now, and just keep it in a file, hold on to it, and have it done by the time you get there. Okay, so a little bit more about the book. He was asked in the beginning of this, there's a little, so he has his own, what is it called? Like a dedication where he thanks his family and some different mentors and peers and stuff that he has in here. But then there is something written by 2, actually, little sections. One of them was written by Jim Collins. And Jim Collins asked Stephen Covey, how did you come up with the ideas in the 7 habits? And I really liked his response. He said, I didn't. So Jim asked him, what do you mean? You wrote the book. And obviously, if he wrote the book and got all this credit for it, he didn't, he came up with those 7 habits, right? But he said, I wrote the book, but the principles were known long before me. They are they are more like natural laws. All I did was put them together to synthesize them for people. So he didn't try to take the credit for coming up with these ideas. What he's trying to do is to share those principles that have been around forever. So when we talk about these 7 habits, hopefully none of them will be really new foreign concepts to you. I know that's how it was for me when I first learned this. All of them were things that I already knew, but it's kind of putting it into a word, putting it into a concept, putting it into a principle to start implementing in your life every day and everywhere you go, and to be reminded of that. Just like Casey said, she's like, I constantly revert back to that habit of begin with the end in mind. And anywhere I go, any goal I'm setting. And so it's principles to live by, to reference back to. So when you're starting to set a new goal or whatever you're doing, working in a new group, you go back to these rules and you're like, yeah, I need to synergize. And then you think about, are you doing the right thing with your, in your team and in those kinds of concepts. So I think that's pretty cool. All right. He says in the beginning, if you want to achieve your highest aspirations and overcome your greatest challenges, identify and apply the principle or natural law that governs the results you seek. Who can tell me what that means? If you want to achieve your highest aspirations and overcome your greatest challenges, identify and apply the principle or natural law that governs the results you seek. What do you guys think that means? Let me see if I can flip through. Anybody? What do you think he means by that? Weston, what do you think?
Okay, I think what he means by that is to identify what is the main source of this challenge, like why you want to do this challenge and why you want to overcome it. Like, set yourself in a motivation. Like, if you only have to do something, set a goal and then keep on working hard, keep training up. Like, if you want to be able to do 60 push-ups in a row before the summer, you have to train yourself hard enough. Like, you have to do push-ups every day if you want to do it.
Absolutely. Good. Yeah. So no matter what your goals are, whatever you're wanting to achieve, or whatever you're wanting to overcome, whatever challenges or difficulties you're wanting to overcome, what you need to do is find the principle or the law, the natural law that's going to help you achieve that. So basically, kind of like when we were talking about what to say when you talk to yourself, you have to find the root of the problem. So you can't just fix, like if you're not able to do in what to say when you talk to yourself, it breaks down to your attitude, right? And your thoughts about something. And that's what you need to go back all the way down to the fundamentals of your programming and your wiring to fix something. That's kind of what he's saying here. You can't just say, this is my goal, I'm going to do it. You're going to say, this is my goal, and this is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to follow. These are the guidelines I'm going to set. This is how I'm going to achieve this goal. Okay. He talks in here about the most common human challenges we face. Who wants to tell me what they think are some of the most common challenges that we face? All of you guys give me a couple ideas and then we'll go through what he put on here. And I bet you anything, the ideas that you guys share will fit into one of these categories if it's not exactly the same. Who wants to share, or should we go through to every person?
I got one.
Go ahead.
Okay. One of the most common challenges that we face is like, what's the word? Like, let's say, you're having trouble with school in karate. Like for me, since there's online school now, I've been battling doing homework and doing karate online. So that's a challenge that I faced, but I overcome it. I push myself. I get it done the first time. So that way, the time that is left, I can do karate.
Good job, Weston. All right, Miss Beatrice.
One common challenge we face is asking for help.
Yeah, it is. Good. Anyone else have one they want to share?
Miss Nicole.
Miss Nicole, sorry guys, with the screen share, I could only see like 4 people at a time. So I have to flip through and flip through and flip through. Go ahead, Miss Nicole.
I think one that we humans, I guess, especially us Western Americans, is pure laziness.
Yeah, that's very true. Having the motivation and the drive is a big one. All right, what else, guys? See, Skylar? Skylar King, go ahead and unmute yourself, Sudie.
Having trouble with your fan
With your, okay.
or your AC. That happened to me like twice.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that can, you know what I mean? That can happen. Okay, so we're gonna go through some of the common challenges he has on here. One is fear and insecurity. So a lot of times, this is so true. Who has ever been scared of anything? And who has ever felt like I am not going to be able to do this, or I'm not going to be enough, or maybe I'm not good enough to win first place in the tournament. Maybe I'm not ready to test for my belt. Maybe I'm not confident enough to give this speech in front of my school. Raise your hand if you've ever had a fear or an insecurity before. Everyone absolutely has. So if you think you haven't, you need to maybe think about what they are. Now, that's something that holds a lot of people back and does not hold a lot of martial artists back. We talked about this a lot with our guest speakers, right? So we talked to them about persevering and not giving up. And even when they felt like they couldn't do something, they went out there and they tried it anyways. And sometimes they did fail, but that didn't hold them back. They still achieved their goals. One of our guest speakers talked about how they got comfortable with being in uncomfortable situations, like teaching new classes, running demonstrations. They got so comfortable being out of their comfort zone that then when they got into their career and were faced with new challenges, new opportunities, they didn't let that fear hold them back. So that's a very common one. Okay. I want it now. So who has ever felt impatient about something? Oh my goodness. You have people with the newest iPhone who will pre-order the next one to make sure they get it right the day that it comes out. And they pay so much more money to do that. You have people who pay more for food to have it delivered, to have it instantly. People who will choose to go through a drive-through because it's fast and it's right now versus making food themselves at home, right? This is something that is major in our culture today. And for millennials and for kids of the next, I don't even know what the next generation after millennials is called. I have a kid's toy going off next to me. That's weird. But that I want it now, and that lack of patience is something that has become increasingly more common and more popular. Okay. Blame and criticism. So who has ever criticized somebody else or blamed somebody else? I know I have, and I think every single person does this. I think that martial artists, this is something Miss Ann talked about a lot. As a martial artist, this is something that she improved on, was trying not to judge other people, not criticizing other people, she didn't really talk about blaming, but that criticism and that judgment is something that's natural, right? It's our natural instinct to categorize people and to make judgments and to compare people to ourselves and people to things that we know. That's literally how our brains remember things and how they understand things, how they process things, is by relating it and comparing it and making assumptions. Our brains naturally do that. And so we have to remember when it comes to other people, not to blame, not to criticize other people. Blaming is the big one too. Taking self-responsibility. And being accountable to your own actions. That's something I think Mr. David talked about quite a bit. You know, if I don't practice, I'm not ready to test. If I fail, it's not anybody else's fault, it's my own. And I have to learn, from that. So blaming and criticizing. Hopelessness. This one sounds a little melodramatic, but hopelessness is something that a lot of us have faced. Who has raise your hand if you've ever given up on a goal? If you've ever had a point in the process, maybe you did persevere and achieved a goal, but who has ever felt like you're not going to be able to achieve the goal? Who during this time right now has felt like I'm never going to see my friends again. I'm never going to see my family again. I'm never going to be able to go to the park again. Any of that kind of stuff. Maybe you felt alone. You felt like you don't have any, there's no hope in achieving what you want and getting to where you want. Hopelessness is a really common problem. All right, lack of life balance. This is a big one. This is a big one for adults. It's true for kids too, but kids have their parents, their karate instructors, their school teachers to help them with this. But for adults, this is something that we have to control on our own. And we have commitments and we have responsibilities and we have obligations. And you see this a lot with moms, especially having that balance of work and family and for anybody, teenagers, a big one is a balance of saving money and having fun, right? You don't want to never have fun because you're saving and you're scrimping everything you have, but you don't want to blow all your money on having fun and then have no money for things that you need. So lack of life balance, it can be a major stressor on everybody, whether it's finances, work, family life, relationships, whatever you're trying to balance. That's something that if your programming, your brain programming is not where it needs to be, you can let really overwhelm you. Okay, what's in it for me? Who has ever been asked to do something and had the thought, maybe you didn't say it out loud, maybe you had the self-control not to act on it, but who's ever thought, well, what am I getting out of that? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's a very natural thing for us to do. Why am I, whenever, and you should, whenever you're doing something, your reaction should be, why am I doing this? Is this the right thing to do? Absolutely. You don't just do something because somebody blanketly asked you to do it and you're just following the pack, right? We're not sheep. You have to be able to make the right decisions, especially in peer groups and things like that. But it shouldn't be what's in it for me. It should be, is this the right thing to do? Am I helping other people? Things like that. If your family asks you to do a chore, to help with the dishes or set the table, it shouldn't be, well, what am I going to get out of this? Why am I working this hard to set the table for everybody when I only have one place setting? No, it should be, is this the right thing to do? Is this helpful? How am I helping other people? That kind of thing. The hunger to be understood. Okay, so that one is a big one. A lot of times we want people, you see this in new martial arts instructors, and I talked about this a little bit before. We want people to understand us. We want people to respect us, to listen to us, to follow what we're asking them to do. This is a huge part of leadership. We want to be understood, but we have to remember that you have to understand people to be understood. And we'll talk about this a lot in this book. But in this, being understood, if you're sad, having someone there to say, it's okay, I understand what you're going through. Having someone to comfort you, to relate to you, to listen to you, to follow you as a leader, to respect you as a person, as a martial arts instructor, is one of the core needs of people. Okay, conflict and differences. Who has ever had an argument with somebody? Raise your hand. Everybody has had differing opinions with somebody. Maybe you argue with somebody about it, whatever it is, conflict and differences. Personal stagnation. We talked about this a lot. Who remembers us talking about personal stagnation and what to say when you talk to yourself? That is where you kind of get stuck. You get stuck in a rut. You are facing setbacks and you can't achieve your goal and you kind of just get complacent where you are. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we're going to go into personal stagnation. It is human nature. No, human nature is four-dimensional. So there are four different pieces of human nature. The body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. Okay, now with each of these, we're going to talk about a cultural, kind of what the cultural norm is and what our culture kind of pushes us to do, and then what the principle is, what we should be doing. So for our body, and this is a big one, this whole section right here with personal stagnation, this is big for what we're talking about right now, healthy habits. So all the instructors that are on here, make sure you take notes of this. This is a good thing to talk about with healthy habits over the next week or so. Okay, so for our body, culture wants us to maintain a certain lifestyle and to treat health problems with surgery or medication. The principle should be that we prevent diseases and problems by aligning lifestyles to be to be in harmony with established, universally accepted principles of health. So instead of just, in order to take care of our bodies, we should be creating healthy habits, healthy eating habits, healthy lifestyle habits, healthy fitness routines and things like that. Not just focused on maintaining what culturally normal lifestyle is and then treating the problems as they come up with surgery or medication. All right, for our minds, culture encourages us to watch TV and we have this entertain me attitude. So we expect to be entertained. And you see this a lot with kids. This is something that a lot of parents have been having to redirect kids who are bored easily and aren't able to find entertainment because they're used to this attitude of entertain me, put a TV in front of me, put a tablet in front of me. The principle should be that we read broadly and deeply and we continue our education. Okay, our heart. Culture. The culture is that we use relationships for personal, selfish interests. This is so true. For friendships, you are not just friends with somebody because you guys have fun and they have a pool, or you guys, you know, they're friends with this group of people or whatever. Relationships, whatever kind of relationships, should not be about what you are getting out of it. That ends badly for everybody. The principle should be deep, respectful listening and serving others, which will bring us the greatest fulfillment and joy. Okay, spirit. The culture is to succumb to growing secularism and cynicism. The principle should be that we recognize the source of the basic needs for meaning and the positive things we seek in life as principles. Now that one is written at a pretty high level. Our spirit, the way I'm looking at this, and this can be read and kind of interpreted in different ways, but your spirit to me is your happiness, the joy that you get out of life. And that piece, when we talk about success, I think that your spirit is part of that success, making sure that you are happy and that you are filled with joy and achievement. And so instead of being cynical, of looking at the bad and being pessimistic and those kinds of things, please do not write on the screen or I'm going to have to remove you from the meeting, guys. Thank you. Okay, so trying to be positive, be optimistic, looking for how you can live your life in a better, more fulfilling way. Okay, so tomorrow, that is it for the introduction. Who is excited about this book? I know I am super excited about this book. I love this book. Master Lappin she did the last gold meeting on this. And she has Master Lappin's writing a book, actually. She's getting it published right now on our leadership program. But part of it was talking about the 7 habits. And in that, she uses a paper that I wrote when I was like 12 years old about the 7 habits. It's pretty cute. It's like a handwritten paper that I wrote for school with my name on the top and stuff. But she's going to send me that so I can kind of go through that and pull all of that stuff in. So your guys' homework is to make sure you pick up your book. Go pick up your book. Make a commitment to being on here every weekday. And we are going to start with chapter 1 tomorrow. So I will see everybody then. All right. I hope you guys all have a great day. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
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 Bye.